just really quickly, I'll do some announcements while everyone's now in here. We are recording this session for those of you who are here, and we can share the recording after, and of course, Aku's presentation. I do ask that you stay muted just while he's presenting, and then if you have questions at the end or throughout, you can just drop them in the chat or use the raise hand feature at the bottom. Ignacio, anything from you, Ignacio, our Business Development Committee Chair, anything from you before we kick it off?
Nothing, just good morning to all, and thank you, Aku, for volunteer to do this presentation.
Okay, so let's then go, and thanks once again for the opportunity. And we start now to discuss about the data-based partner appraisal process and why that is relevant. And it perhaps one of the backgrounds to this is this old legacy book by Jim Collins 25 years ago, this From Good to Great, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And there were two sentences that I have tried to keep in my mind during these decades. And the first one is this about get the right people on the bus, and then figure where to drive the bus, and that right people are self-motivated. And then the topic for us, if we think a law firm is a bus, then what kind of a bus it is? Did you all have this presentation? Hannah?
We didn't circulate it. I will circulate it after the meeting.
Okay, yes. So you haven't seen this yet. So if we are a bus, then are we this kind of a traditional one, or maybe we are a big bus or a modern one? And what is common for us all in any kind of a form of a law firm we are, that every partner has a steering wheel in it. So every partner is steering one wheel of the bus. And then the question is that, is everyone driving to the same direction? Or is one partner going to the right and the another one driving to the left, and third one is pushing the gas, and fourth one is accelerating, and fifth one is just riding along? And how do we then know that is everyone driving to the same direction at the same speed? And then comes the old wisdom that you get what you measure. And how we measure partner performance and reward them is said to be the strategy of your firm, regardless whatever we write as a formal strategy. So how we measure partners' performance and how we measure our partners is the real strategy, regardless what we claim the strategy to be. And then the question is that how do we measure the partner's performance? And typically law firms, as much as I have been talking with, 100 law firms or many more, typically law firms have a handful of KPIs, how they measure partners' performance. Starting from the billable hours, perhaps generated revenue, clients brought, sometimes how much work is being shared with the other partners, or sometimes other roles in the firm. which I hear law firms are measuring. But is this a holistic view? And what is a holistic view of a partner performance? If we think of the same concept of driving a bus, then this modern bus, I mean, it has all kinds of different sensors and indicating how the engine is doing, how the bus is performing, and it's constantly online. So it's not only that the bus driver knows, it's also that the bus company knows what's happening exactly in the bus. And we can say perhaps that the modern bus company has a pretty holistic view how the bus driver is performing in his job. And if they have a holistic view, then what could be a holistic view in a law firm? And this is something at Sorainen what we have been building over the past decades, and how we understand a holistic view of a partner performance. And this is one partner in 2021 on the right-hand side, and then the same partner next year in 2022. And there are we are looking at the 7 different performance categories as indicated here, starting from the clients, people, knowledge, and going forward until the behavior and integrity. At Sorainen, we are looking at this circle in the middle, that this is the minimum requirement. We call it successful, and we would like every partner to reach at least this minimum requirement at everything, and then find the areas where they excel, because partners are different. They have different strengths. Some are better with clients, some are better with people, and some are better at making profit, and some are better at something else. And here we see another example of a partner who had a very good performance in 2021, but then for some reason declined in 2022. And then how do we get that picture? What are these kind of sensors? And I show you some examples from the Sorainen system, how we look at these sensors. So if we look at the client-related KPIs, there's a list of things we get from the system. Starting from this feedback, going to this point number 3 is the revenue generated from the A category. So A category is the most valuable part of the client portfolio. We have more or less this Pareto rule that 20% of our clientele generates 80% of the revenue. And we have A, B, C categories, and A category is this top one. We look at the service penetration, how many different practice groups are these clients being using, the amount of these high quality business development meetings, outbound referrals to foreign law firms. This is one of the KPIs for our partner appraisal process, and for the reason that we are in the very small jurisdictions, so we have to, when we talk with these major UK law firms, they don't know if we ever send something back to them. So we have to be very careful in recording if we are able to send something back. And it requires certain discipline to always to record this. And often our partners forget to mark to the system if they have outbound referrals to other law firms. And that's why we think this is an important thing to look at during the partner appraisal process. And on the people side, we look at this partner's ability to engage their people in the practice group through conducting engagement surveys every year, how they are mentoring, how they are coaching people, In the bigger practice groups where we have maybe 30 people or more, then it makes sense also to look at the retention ratio to see that whether there's a higher rotation of the people in some practice groups than the average. On the collaboration side, many of you might remember this Heidi Gardner's book of the benefits of collaboration, and we very much believe it. And how we look at the collaboration, it comes from this. Part of it comes from this engagement survey, how the practice group members feel collaboration within the team. But the other, this number 2, actually we copied from Herbert Smith. We found that Herbert Smith has an interesting way of measuring collaboration among the partners by letting every partner to allocate 10 points to other partners in other practice groups. So I could allocate 10 points to Jenna, or I could give 4 points to Hanna and 4 points to Jenna and 2 points to Ignacio, for example. So everybody always has 10 points as an average. And then we also see a big variation at Sorainen. We see some partners only with 1 or 2 points, whereas some others having 25, 30 points. And this is a good topic for discussion, that why some partners are not perceived high in collaboration. And then we look at the cross-supervision and cross-referral. So cross-supervision, when a partner gets a case and involves associates from other practice groups, or cross-referrals when they get the case and transfer that to another partner to supervise. And this firm contribution, other firm contribution, this is purely subjective, whereas almost everything else what we have looked at is very objective data. And much of it comes from the central practice management system. This is pretty subjective one, that how a partner is contributing beyond the practice group. And then on the profit side, the profit obviously can be divided into absolute profit generated by the practice group or the office, but also equally profit which is lost. And typically we lose profit with a poor financial hygiene. And this relates to not entering time cards daily to the system. We know that if the partner is in delay, maybe marking time cards only every second day or third day, or sometimes even longer delay, then also the team tends to be in delay. So if we get the partner to mark time cards on a daily basis, typically the whole team will follow. And that's when we are losing less money. And keeping this max 6 weeks working process, this tends to be a pretty good standard, even if sometimes the cases drag for a long period of time, then partners should be still able, in an average, to keep within this 6 weeks. And supporting collections process. We have also found a way to get objective data here, in the sense that how the revenue management team appraises partners for supporting in collection process. So our revenue management team says that gives points to partners 1 to 5, indicating whether they are very supportive in the process or less supportive. And then utilization ratio. And finally, another rather subjective element is how partners acting by and promoting the firm's values, choosing the right clients and managing possible conflicts of interest situations. Sometimes this is an element where we actually have departed with partners at Sorainen. At least in 2 instances, I remember that we have had to terminate partnership regarding someone because of not meeting the successful criteria in this category. And then there's this knowledge. And the question is about this knowledge. I mean, this all what we are looking at is actually most of it is objective data. There's very little subjective data on how we look at this partner performance. And when we start to have a focus on this data in the system, this in its own right provides this incentive for partners to manage data and start to share information. And this is what we have seen happening over these past decades, when we have increasingly started to look at what kind of data we have in our system. That has provided the partners an incentive to start to generate data and start to share information, start to share knowledge. And the challenge what law firms typically have, as far as I've understood it, is that we tend to get legal documents into the DMS, but most of the law firms I have met have a culture of not storing operational data. And operational data is much of the data what we just had a look at, which is volunteered data. I mean, most law firms, they are very strong at getting financials from all different angles, but getting anything else to the system beyond time cards and invoices tends to be a challenge. And even if some law firms that I have talked to get some data, and now we are talking about, for example, debriefings, talking about these high-quality business development meetings. They are not being done because they are time-consuming, and it tends to be boring for the partners, or especially it's time-consuming. For a lot of very often partners feel that they are giving away their personal business secrets when if they would have to write down high-quality business development meetings or debriefings regarding a case. That this is something that why should they reveal their secrets about the client relationships they have in the firm if the other partners don't do the same? And even if they would do it, this is not rewarded as such, because we law firms are focused often on this handful of KPIs. Now, if we would focus more on this knowledge which comes from entering data to our systems and start to foster data-centric culture, that would lead us to contributing meaningfully to clean, structured data beyond just the time cards. And there tends to be two platforms for this. And one is what we already earlier I mentioned is a document management system, where typically in the market we tend to have iManage or Epon or whatever we have. But then the other one is the practice management system, and this is where actually our spin-off company is now coming into question. What is the reason why I've been thinking of this so much is that how to create a platform where we can consolidate everything else which is not client legal documents. And if we get into this situation that we start to have a lot of data in our systems, then comes this additionally on top of it, the benefit that we are able to utilize generative AI on the data what we have in our systems. And here's one one example from Sorainen, what we did. We started to develop an ISO certified quality management system 25 years ago, because we were a very young firm and we didn't have any established best practices. We didn't have any legacy systems. So we had to write everything from the scratch, because we were already in 3 different jurisdictions, and it was clear that every office at Sorainen was going on their own way unless we are able to consolidate ourselves and find a way that we work as one. So we started to write the quality management system, describing every step how we practice law. And it ended up in this kind of a 600-page manual of guidelines and best practices. And now when we put a generative AI chatbot on top of this, which was very easy because it was all structured data in one place, we could have a prompt like, how should I prepare for a meeting a possible new client? And then you get a reply and you get a reference to the source. Or what should I do if I think I might exceed the budget the client has approved? And then you have steps. Now, obviously, I mean, you could have a similar prompts in the ChatGPT or Copilot, and they would have probably similar good answers based on the general logic what they have in these training models. But the difference here is that this is all our internal data. It doesn't look anything from elsewhere. So these are exactly our own processes. And why it is easy to put AI on top of our own processes is because it's structured, updated data in one place. And this leads to that if we could prompt with all data, operative data, what we collect regarding our clients, and we could prompt like, what should I know about the client I'm meeting today? And this is what we now already built in this Crespec, that it would pull in all a narrative of all your business development meetings, debriefings with the client, would create a narrative that what do we know actually about the client organization, who's deciding what and who's buying legal services. Combine that with all types of different cases we have been working with the client that I should know about today, or offers we have been lost, or what do we know about the competitors who are servicing the client in addition to us. And it could also look actually at the external news, what is happening in the client organization or industry, what kind of media there is recently. And that would make it so much obviously faster. I would not need to have the help of our business development team for preparing a meeting with the client, because I could just have a prompt regarding the data we have. So how should I budget the case, looking at all similar cases we have already in the database, and staff the next case? I mean, some very good law firms like De Brauw in Holland, they have staffing associates. Partners don't staff their cases, because the problem when partners staff the cases, they often tend to take the so to say usual suspects, and they easily dismiss juniors who would like to develop a competence within a certain field. But if we have the data in our system that who wants to develop a competence regarding a certain field, then they would always be on the radar when the system makes a proposal for you how to staff the next case. also taking into consideration who is underwater, who has resources. Or how can I utilize today the lessons my colleagues learned 3 years ago? And this boils down to what kind of a soft data we have recorded in our systems. Those colleagues, even if they are not anymore working in the firm, what kind of debriefings they had with the client, what kind of a high quality business development meetings they had, and how does this information help me today? Or even which 2 clients should I call today? At least at Sorainen, we have this challenge that every partner has a client portfolio, maybe 50 or 60 clients. And everybody working long days every day, how to keep in mind whom of those 60 to call today. But the system can look at it that taking into consideration what are the, let's say, revenue trends of a client in a firm, what is the strength of the relationship, when did we last talk with the client, and how long is it that we have had a meaningful correspondence with the client. And the system would let us know that now is time to catch up. Or which clients most likely to need the colleague services. And this would not only be actually what we have internally recorded, but this could also be looking at external data, what is happening in the client industry. Are there certain news from the client in the media that would trigger the system to issue us a note that this might be something to discuss with the client about another colleague service. And this number 7, I don't know, are you already facing it that your clients, big corporations, are using AI tools to analyze the legal fees and looking at the law firm's case narratives? But this starts to be an increasing trend and a way for clients to ask discounts when they see that there is in the case narrative certain entries that the clients are not willing to pay for. And what we could do is to have an AI check our own case narratives before we send them for the clients to let their AI to check the case narratives, to unify the case specification accordingly. And even when we start to have all data in one place, this enables us to make the next year's business planning. So that instead of writing lengthy narratives, we can just start to tick boxes that what kind of relationship we want to develop next year without needing to write any names. And when it is within one system, it also enables for everybody else to build their business plans that contribute my plan. So let's say, for example, that if I make a business plan that I would like to target next year potential clients A, B, C, and I want to strengthen relations with D, E, and F, I would just tick the boxes that A, B, C I want to target, D, E, F I want to strengthen. And then basically everybody else sees that Aku wants to work with D, E, and F. Maybe I join with Aku and I cover some other aspects, and maybe we strengthen those clients together. Or maybe I would join Aku for targeting those A, B, D. Maybe I have some relations within those firms that complement Aku's relations. And once it all happens in a same platform, then also we can have a holistic view to whole business planning process, so that the partners and practice groups and office plans, they all contribute to the firm strategy, which sometimes even at Sorainen today, we have to look, we have a certain firm strategy, and then basically manually we need to look every partner's business plan, that that does their personal business plan contribute to the firm strategy? And does our 50 partners that every one of them has maybe a little bit different business plan, that do all these 50 plans cover the whole strategy sufficiently? So it all starts from this holistic partner appraisal process, and which enables this shift to this data-centric culture. And these are the benefits what we clearly can start to have when starting from this culture, enabling to use generative AI and enabling to use the economies of scale at everything we do, which is so very hard for law firm to build on, to use economies of scale at anything we do. And then on the people side, it boils down to everyone having more fun when they also partners feel that they are appraised holistically and remunerated fairly. And it will clearly provide a better price-quality ratio and happier clients. And last but not least, this is something also what I have been observing at Sorainen very much. There was another well-known book about these corporate life cycles that was published some more than 10 years ago. And I have seen during these 30 years that our firm has been now in practice, in existence, that going through all these green stages to the prime, and according to this book, once you have reached this prime, then the next stage is the fall. And the fall might come faster or slower, depending how the law firm operates. And regarding this, how to recognize a law firm in this prime cycle, typically these stretch goals are set, aligned and consistently achieved, and that there is this institutionalized entrepreneurial spirit. I was involved in interviewing some of our partner candidates, or some of the candidates to be put to the development track, which leads to the partnership. We have a 3-year development track. So I was talking with some of these candidates, and I asked them that what does this entrepreneurial spirit, how they understand it. And one of the candidates said that entrepreneur spirit, I never thought of it. I never thought of it that this is relevant. And maybe this means that certain parts of Sorainen already is past the prime stage, and we are starting to get closer to this fall, if not all candidates to be put to the partner track if they have not heard the word entrepreneurial spirit before. And we have seen how it is easy to get exhausted with internal stuff when building an organization, rather than being constantly on the road to look for the clients. And it is necessary when building an organization, but once the organization is there and performing sufficiently well, then it's time to focus the energy back on the external side. And this is typically how companies and law firms starting to reach this fall cycle is partners start to feel content and somewhat complacent. And I have observed some partners in our organization to start to feel content and somewhat complacent, which leads to the rocket slowing down, and which leads to having elements of mediocrity getting into the system. So it's all the time, it's a kind of a fight of getting the firm back to this prime. Getting from prime beyond to the fall, and then when you get to the fall, then pushing it back to the prime. And the way how I have seen what helps tremendously on pushing it back to the prime is to have quality data and to have this holistic partner appraisal process, because there it's so very quickly that you see which elements start to slow down. Even if the profit would still be high, you would still know that someone is slowing down and some elements are slowing down, even if we make a lot of profit. But okay, this was the presentation, and I'd be very happy to have a little discussion, or at least a few questions, if this triggers any thoughts on anyone.
Thank you, Aku. I don't know if anybody has any question. Otherwise, I have one.
Yes, please.
You showed a pie which is divided into several dimensions, and the pie is divided equal. My question would be, when you make the appraisal of the partner's performance, whether there is any relative weight of each of these dimensions, or is the same thing knowledge than income or collaboration?
Currently, we have the same weight for every category. And the reason being that it would be very easy to say that, for example, profit is 80% and everything else is 20%. But that would mean that partners would just then work on the profit. And they would disregard a lot of the other things. And what happens in practice is that, of course, profit is a key driver, and generating a surplus profit obviously provides a partner with an ability also to proceed faster up our managed lockstep. Even though we look everything holistically in a without having any emphasis on any of the categories. But what sometimes happens is that when a partner starts to fall down, let's say, for example, within people leadership category, that if we see that some partner's team is not engaged, which may lead to high rotational personnel in that partner's team, which leads to poor leadership. So even if there's a good profit and everything else, high firm contribution, everything is well, except that there is poor leadership, then by time this poor leadership kind of just grows in value, and this becomes a bigger and bigger issue every year until the partner understands that he has to do something with the leadership. Or same, it might be that this poor financial hygiene in one end, that we have a partner who doesn't want to mark time cards to the system. Maybe there's 1 week delay and the whole team is lagging behind, and we know we are losing a lot of money because of it. So even if the profit is great, we know that we are losing money in the other end. And this poor financial hygiene, then it just becomes bigger and bigger issue every year, until the partner understands that actually his personal share of the dividends is going to be reduced because of poor financial hygiene.
Thank you, Aku. I think, Don, do you have a question?
Hi there. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It's definitely given me food for thought in terms of kind of the collaboration model, one partner allocating points to another, and AI, checking the AI of someone else. And even just, the thought of putting the AI into that approval process is we're looking at user cases at the moment for AI. So I definitely think that needs to be on the list. My question was kind of related to a little bit to Ignitia says. You mentioned BD meetings and you mentioned directories, and forgive me, I'm a marketing comms manager. Where would kind of raising the profile of the brand and raising the profile of the practice, sort of in terms of KPIs, in terms of sort of media activity or conferences, events, content, being that, you know, illustrating the expertise and the experience in the firm, which part of the model, the circular model, would that come under? Or do you judge it or not judge it?
I would, this would relate to this client category on the media visibility, which eventually on this client category, we would look at the effort what a partner does, and then how this effort converts into revenue. And typically we see that when partners are very busy, when there's a high workload, we see the effort on the marketing and business development side declining, and it's okay. And then when we have a slower period, we expect the partners to clearly ramp up the effort on the business development and marketing in order for the next year to revenue to increase. So I would say that it's sufficient to look both of these in the same category.
Jorge, I saw your hands.
Thank you, Ignacio, and hello, everybody. Great presentation. Thank you very much. Very interesting. I like the concept a lot, and I guess that my question is, for purposes of partners evaluation, how do you do it in practice? Do you feed the system with different types of data and metrics? And when the system, I don't know, marks that something has not been met, then an alarm pops up? Or in practice, Mr. Sorayan, how do you do it? Because the concept is very good, but how do you feed the system with the different metrics, and how do you make it bring to your attention certain issues?
Yeah, so that is a very good question, because also it boils down to it that what do we need data for? I mean, obviously partners would hate to populate any data to the system for the purpose of partner appraisal process. That would not be popular at all. The only where we see that the partners could be motivated of entering data to the system is that this data helps them in their work. And if everybody else would populate the system with data, then everybody would benefit. So it starts from having, first of all, one platform where everything happens. Because if there are many different platforms, like typically law firms today, they have maybe 4 or 5 different tools. They may have a different one tool for time card entry, another tool for invoicing, a third tool maybe for collaboration, a fourth tool for business development, a fifth tool for marking client relationship issues, CRM. And typically, lawyers don't want to navigate between 5 different tools. And then the only thing what gets recorded is actually the time cards, and invoices are being sent out. But if we manage to make everything happen in a one platform, one tool, so everything is constantly in front of the partners and lawyers' eyes, then it's much easier to get data into the system. And once you get regularly the data to the system, then the question is that we can create dashboards. We are at Sorainen, we are currently on the way of building these dashboards that currently it still requires let's say business development team's effort to consolidate data and create a report for a partner about consolidating all this data. But currently we are building these dashboards that there is no need for business services team to consolidate any data for reporting purposes, that partners would know where they are. For example, in debriefings, we know that debriefing is hugely important thing. And we lawyers, I mean, if we were, I attended a military exercise 10 years ago, and I was really impressed at how military nowadays, everything boils down to debriefing. Whatever they do after the exercise, everybody comes together to debrief. Because in the military, it's a question of life and it's a question of survival. I mean, as lawyers, we live such a comfortable life that even if we really fail big time, it's still not a question of survival. And that's why we very seldom do debriefing. And we have taken this as a key topic at Sorainen, that we have to have debriefings. We start to measure. The debriefings must be recorded to the system so that everybody learns. And then the topic is that a partner was having a dashboard that, okay, my team has had 5 debriefings now in April 2025, but this is 20% behind the average. Maybe I could have a little bit more debriefings if I want to hit the average. Did I answer, Jorge, your question?
You did, yes. Thank you very much. And I did have a quick follow-up, Neil. I promise I'll be very fast. Just want to, because we also use iManage, and I think you said that iManage is the one that you're using for that. But I know that Neil has another question, so that was my only follow-up. Yeah.
Jorge, go
But
ahead.
yes, you did answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I may. So thank you very much. That was great. It's great to hear that law firms all over the world have the same challenges, same problems. On the compensation front, once you fill out the chart for a partner and they tick 7 of the 8 boxes above average, is it then formulaic?
No.
It's then subjective to look at. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't like formulas, because the formulas often tend to lead to opportunities to manipulate.
Right.
I mean, when partners, I mean, they are very clever at calculating how to, let's say, maximize my points at something. And sometimes it's real, sometimes it's even, let's say, even I mentioned this example that we copied from Herbert Smith of allocating these collaboration points, 10 points to other partners. Now, I heard a rumor that even at Sorainen, some younger partners have agreed with some other younger partners. I give my 10 points to you, you give your 10 points to me. So at least we both have 10 points, and then let's see if we get other points from somewhere else to be above the average. So it's very important not to have any of these individual lines to dominate anything. I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing what we can measure is a cash on the bank account, and everything else is more or less subject to manipulation if you would really try hard. And therefore, my logic is that when we measure a lot of different things, then you cannot really fool the system when there are so many different points you look at. But same, coming to your question, that if we have a super partner who would actually be above average in most of those categories, which actually happens not very often. That, I mean, typically we see partners maybe being in 4 categories above the average. There is still kind of, the average is quite a strong magnet. You have to be pretty significantly stronger to get above the average in any of the categories. But obviously we don't want to disappoint those partners. And then the remuneration committee works very hard to see whether this is a sustainable performance being above the average, or is it just 1 year alone? And if it's just 1 year, maybe we pay a partner extra bonus if we see that this partner is able to keep being above the average for 2 or 3 years, then obviously this partner needs to be promoted through the ranks faster than the others. But it goes also downward, so that if we see a partner slowing down, maybe we would not reduce the partner in the first year, but have a discussion that what's happening. And then if it still continues after second or third year, then the partner would see the points being reduced.
Thank you, Aku. I think that we're pretty close to the hour. I would like to thank you for the presentation. It was really excellent, and I think everyone has taken notes of your best practices in order to see whether we can implement some of those things in our firm. Thank you for that, and I really look forward to seeing you in person soon at the end of May. Hannah, any final remarks?
None from me. Thank you, Aku. We really appreciate it. And I also look forward to seeing you in a month.
Okay, and I mentioned this Crespect. If anyone of you is interested on seeing this tool, we will show a demo to you.
Yeah, Aku, and I may follow up with you on that. We have done demos through actually the BDC on other AI tools. So I will follow up with you to get more information on that tool. I looked it up when you mentioned it in your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.